Good morning. Barry Bryson here. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. We're continuing our study of Matthew, and we're doing a part 2 to Matthew chapter 27, verses 11 through 26, which is Jesus' trial before Pilate. We know from the other gospel writers that there are more things that happen, but we have the essential elements here, and we have some details we have nowhere else, like the word from Pilate's wife. What we don't have is the extended back and forth between Jesus and Pilate, which John tells us about in John's gospel. We get a fuller sense of Pilate as not only a guy who wants to do the right thing and be an administrator of good government, but he's also world-weary and jaded. We have Jesus and Pilate talking back and forth. We have Jesus telling Pilate, "You have no authority over me except what you've been given." We have Jesus talking about the truth and Pilate saying, "What is truth?" and then leaving the room like he's laid down a trump card. We have all that in John's gospel. And we also get from the other gospel writers the scourging of Jesus and the presenting of him to the crowd, the sending of Jesus to Herod Antipas so that he could judge Jesus. We have the extra efforts of Pilate to try to find a way to release Jesus. So we know something about his person and that he tries. But we also know, as we've been talking about, he's being sued in Roman court for violating the Roman or the Jewish religion in the Jewish homeland. And he's going to lose that court battle. And he's going to be forced to commit suicide. At least that's the best history that we have. We don't have a lot of sources that say that, but the sources that we have say that. And we also have Passover time. So we already have really too few soldiers to handle an insurrection if one erupts. We have Jerusalem, which is a city of maybe 80, 100,000 people at this time, with twice that many people in it, maybe more. And we have this huge messianic expectation, false messiahs. Now we have someone who's the true Messiah, or many think is. And now the high priests are trying to, and the people are being stirred up. I mean, his hands are tied in multiple ways. And he can go ahead and do the right thing, but at great cost to himself personally, and perhaps even at great cost to his men, and to his wife and the Roman presence in Jerusalem. Because if the whole crowd turns, they don't have enough troops to handle it. They don't. And so he makes a very public display of washing his hands and saying, "This is your business. You see to it." And the crowd immediately accepts the blame. They pick Barabbas instead of Jesus. And they say, crucify him. And we see how quickly the crowd is turned. And for a first century reader, especially when living inside the Roman Empire, one would have immediately been reminded of how quickly the crowds, the people, the polloi, turned against Julius Caesar to side with the assassins, and then how quickly they turned against the assassins to side with Octavian and Mark Antony against the assassins, against Brutus and the other assassins, and we know just from human history how quickly and easily the right person can manage a crowd and turn a crowd on a dime to argue for the thing argue against the thing that they had just the seconds before embraced. And it doesn't speak well of us as a species, does it? But we know it to be true. And it happens here. One more thing. It says, the last verse says, he released Barabbas for them. This custom seems to be Pilate's custom. Something only Pilate did to try to curry favor with the Jews. But Jesus, he delivered to be scourged and crucified. We'll talk a bit about what that process means as we continue on next week. But let me tell you this, the scourging itself, just as the physical act, we can't see this, it's hard for us to comprehend, but it was an act of mercy on Pilate's part. Because the scourging before crucifixion was given when you wanted someone to die quickly. If you wanted to prolong their death, you didn't scourge them. And that made the time on the cross longer and even more torturous. We'll talk more about the mechanics of scourging and what was happening, and just the biomechanics of crucifixion and what happens in a crucifixion next time. But Pilate, in ordering Jesus scourged before he was ordered to be but when he delivered him to be crucified, that was a way of shortening his time on the cross. Well, we'll pick up with that scourging next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.